Pastor Aaron Goodrow from the First Baptist Church in Plaistow to open with prayer. And we're going to also ask him to bless all the residents and town employees who will be coming through these buildings in the coming years. To keep them safe. And
you did a great job right there. In my Christian tradition, that's how I will pray today. I invite you to pray however you pray best as well. Shall we look to God in thanks? God, we thank you for this day. We thank you for this community. God, we thank you for systems and organizations and governments that you've seen to put in place that we can keep ourselves organized as a people, that we can humbly serve one another. We thank you in this day in particular, God, for this facility that would be used to serve the community members. God, we thank you for those who will be employed here, who serve townspeople who sometimes are friendly and sometimes not so friendly. God, we acknowledge that because it's a human condition that we all have. When we have a pressing issue or something that's urgent, help us to treat each other with respect and kindness. We thank you as well today, God, that we can put a name to this building, one that deserves honor, and with great thanks for Mr. Major's great service to this community and to the state. God, we give you thanks for that, for his willingness to serve, for his hours, many hours spent in commitment to this community. God, we give you thanks for his vision for doing that. God, we also thank you for his wife, Brenda, a great force behind of support and encouragement and wisdom and knowledge. We thank you for the family and legacy that they have here that's represented here as well today. God, to all these things we commit to your glory, to the well-being of this community. We ask that you would bless this place, that it would be used for clear communication, for soft wisdom, and God, for a humble attitude that we can serve one another. We thank you for this day. We thank you for this place, for Mr. Major. In your name we pray. Amen.
now we're going to ask the Boy Scouts of Plaistow to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Going to have them all come forward.
Will you all join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you so much. We didn't know how much space we were going to have, so we asked if a couple of Boy Scouts could come to do the pledge. And they got a call back and they said, no, all of them want to come. So we welcomed them here today. Kaylee Sheffield, are you here? Yes, there she is. Kaylee is going to do the national anthem for us.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming. And the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free?
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Kaylee. So I'd like to do two things right now. First of all, back in March 29th, we actually made the proclamation to do this, and we presented the proclamation to NOM, and it was a pretty cold day that day, so we said we'll wait for warmer weather. Well, at least it's kind of warm. So let me just read this very quickly. Whereas NOM Major has served the town of Plaistow as a member of the zoning board, a financial agent, a town moderator, a selectman, and chair of the select board, and whereas NOM Major has served as state representative for Plaistow for over 25 years, and whereas he has provided the town of Plaistow with many hours of service, research, dedication, and leadership for the betterment of the town, and whereas he has provided the youth of Plaistow with many hours of volunteer time, leadership, and experience in support of scouting, and whereas by the authority invested us as members of the Board of Selectmen, we do hereby claim that as of Monday, March 29, 2021, the Plaistow Town Annex will be named the Norman L. Major Building, in appreciation for his service to our town. And we encourage all citizens to recognize and appreciate the many enduring contributions of Norm Majors to both our town and community. So I'll put this aside, and I thought I would give you some very quick history of the building, and then we'll have a number of speakers come. So this building was purchased from the town of Plaistow from the AZ Tool Company in 1976 for a great price, only $35,000. The AZ Tool Company constructed and moved to a new building on the other side of the overpass, just past Norm's house. If you go down this road and bear left, you'll eventually get to the overpass. In 1977, the Plaistow Library moved to the Annex, and proudly they completed all the moves during off hours and never missed 1 hour of library time for the public. In 1978, Norm's son Kevin completed his Eagle Scout project, which consisted of preparing and planting shrubs around the Annex. Unfortunately, they were removed last year. In 1981, the old book room was dedicated to Ruth and Cliff Cook, volunteers that helped our town and our town government for many, many years. And at the same time, the second floor was renovated to add meeting space. In 1998, Plaistow approved the construction of the new library on Main Street. And in 2000, actually on May 15th, the new Plaistow Library opened its doors. This left the Annex empty. Norm Major worked with the town in the state to gain approval and funding to relocate the district court to the Annex. Excuse me. And it has served our police force and the local police forces around us for many years. 20 years later, in 2020, the district court decided to move out of the Annex. And so as I was saying, this decision left the Annex empty again. Excuse me. In the midst of the COVID-19 virus, our town manager, Mark Pearson, decided to move both the building and recreation departments from the town hall to the Annex. This greatly reduced people traffic in the town hall and in ways helped to allow town clerk services to remain available to the residents of the town and still protect our town employees and the residents needing these services. Customers of both departments have related very positive feedback for the use of our town annex. So in many ways, this town annex, just like Norm Major, has served the people of Plaistow for many, many years. We are so glad to have this facility, and we feel very blessed to have a servant such as Norm in our town. Thank you. So now I would like to invite Kim Rice, the New Hampshire Speaker Pro Temp of the House. Sherman Packett was not able to attend.
Good morning.
Speaker Packard sends his deep regrets. Norm, he was so upset he couldn't be here today, but that turned out to be in my favor because I'm so honored to be here to celebrate you, someone I greatly admire. The House of Representatives, a declaration. Whereas the town of Plaistow honors Representative Norman L. Major for nearly 55 years of public service, and whereas during Representative Norman L. Major's time in public service, he faithfully served as a state representative for 25 years, selectman for 11 years, as well on various boards, committees, and appointments. And whereas Representative Norman L. Major has held local, state, and national positions with the Boy Scouts of America. And whereas he developed and operated a backpacking expedition program for Scouts in the White Mountains, Green Mountains, Rocky Mountains, and various sections of the Appalachian Trail. And whereas he also ran the pioneering program for the National Jamboree for 24 years. And where he could not attend these special events in person, he played a major role in supporting his sons, Kevin and Brian, in leading New Hampshire's contingents to the 2017 National Jamboree and the 2019 World Jamboree. Now, be it hereby resolved that Representative Norman L. Major's involvement in civic duty and his tireless work ensuring and preserving the work of the Boy Scouts of America are duly appreciated. And be it further resolved, by virtue of my signature inscribed below, the New Hampshire House of Representatives extend its highest accolades to Representative Norman L. Major for his exemplary service to Plaistow and the state of New Hampshire.
I'm very, very happy again to see this gentleman, a real friend of Plaistow, Senator Chuck Morse.
Well, good morning. I want to thank you all for inviting me today, and Representative Major, you didn't have to have this event so I could address the House of Representatives, but you guys are missing Kenny Weiler, so I think I'll hold off. You know, and after participating in over 500 Zoom meetings since January, you have no idea how good it feels to come out and be with you in person, Norm. What better way to get back to see the people and celebrate? You know, from there they stopped writing and they said, you know Norm so well, take it over from there and basically address the public in the way you see fit. And I think that's so important, because if I'm in this community, I understand what Norm Major means. But in the state of New Hampshire, I think it's more important, because as we get conflicting ideas of what's good, bad, and ugly in the country and in the state, there's no doubt Norm Major is the person that young people and people my age and older people look up to. You know, in 2004 and 5, when I wrote a budget, I went to Norm Major secretly, and now I express it as the only way to do things in Concord. I said, Norm, I said, I don't want to mix spending with revenues. I said, but I want to talk to you when the Senate's done doing their spending, and you tell me the honest to God truth of where New Hampshire should be. And ever since then, he's always been honest with me. And he certainly represents what this state is all about. It's about us. It's about people, working with people. Whether it's the Boy Scouts, whether it's the community, whether it's him being in Concord, whether he's chairman of the committee or not, they give him office space. It just tells you they respect him so greatly in Concord that they would do something like that. And I can't tell you how much it means to me that he's my friend, because he's constantly looking to me to help set examples in the state of New Hampshire that I think is what we both care about the most. We care about people like you. And to come here today, before I give you this proclamation, I didn't know your son landscaped this building, but I'll make you this offer, Norm. If you have a grandson that wants to landscape it, I'll give him the plant material to landscape it. So you take advantage of that. The New Hampshire Senate, a resolution, be it known that the New Hampshire Senate extends its congratulations to Representative Norm Major in recognition of the dedication of the Plaistow Town Hall Annex in Norm Major's name in appreciation of his dedicated service to the town of Plaistow and the state of New Hampshire. And be it further known that the New Hampshire Senate extends its best wishes for continued success in all future endeavors. Signed by Senate President, myself, Chuck Morse. Congratulations, Norm. Hold on, Norm, I have to put this back on.
Now I'm going to ask Representative Pat Alarami, I hope I pronounced that correctly, and he's going to just let us know all of the different representatives and politicians from our state that came here to honor Norm.
Thank you very much. So you know, I'm Vice Chair of Ways and Means. I've been with Norm for now 11 years, and I've really gotten to know the man. And everything that's been said is so true about Norm. Honest man, man of integrity. But what you don't know is he's Mr. Ways and Means. He knows more about state revenues than anybody. I think Senator Morse would agree to that. He really does. And he takes his job very seriously. So they've asked me to read the names of the people who are here from the legislature, and I'll try to do that. But one of my stories is when I first, this is my 6th term, and I wanted to be on Ways and Means, and I saw Norm before the assignments were made. I don't know if you remember this story. And I said, Norm, you know, I'd really like, you know, Mr. Major or Representative Major, I would say then, and I said, I'd really like to be on Ways and Means. He asked me one question. He goes, what's your background? I said, I'm an engineer. He goes, me too. Big smile on his face. I knew I was in. So, in sharing an office with Norm for a few terms, we have an office now. We haven't seen it though with the virus. You know, we've been you know, doing Zoom. So I got to know a lot about Norm, more than just being engineers. I learned all about the Boy Scouts and what he's done for the Boy Scouts, and some of the other things. So, with that, let me just mention some of the other representatives that are here. Mark Pearson, who's your town manager. Long time manager. Oh, okay. I thought
Same name.
Oh, okay. Well, I apologize for that. I saw it. I just assumed. Never assume anything. So yeah. So Mark is chair of Health and Human Services. David Welch, who's very active in the county government as well. Dave Welch is vice chair of Criminal Justice, who's here with us. John Janadian from Salem is a member of Ways and Means. Herschel Nunez, member of Ways and Means. Alan Burstein, who's our clerk in House Ways and Means. You've met Kim Rice, and Jess Edwards is one of the chairs of one of the divisions of finance. All here to congratulate you, Norm. And we also have, if you look over this way, Norm, Ways and Means Secretary, Karen Kowalski, and Ways and Means researcher, Jennifer Floor. When I got the note out to everybody that this was going to happen, they said, well, can we come too? I said, absolutely. So there they are. And I also noticed in the audience Commissioner Temporello from Rockingham, who's a Rockingham County Commissioner, who's with us as well today. Now, did I miss anybody? Oh, Bob Hart as well. Very good. He's also a legislator. So, very good. And Norm, congratulations.
And now I'm going to ask Bob Hobb, the last person we mentioned there. Bob Hobb is as well as being representative with NOM. He is also our town moderator, and so I have seen Bob in many meetings here in Plaistow, which is great. So Bob, your remarks.
Thank you and good morning, everyone. First, I'd like to congratulate my friend Norm on this honor. I'd like to thank his wife, Brenda, and his entire family, because those of us that serve know it's not just us that serve. It's our entire family that give up their time with their loved ones to allow them to serve our community and our state. So first, thanks to the entire Major family. Yes, give them a round of applause. If I think about Norm, I think about a couple of words that couldn't help to explain how I feel about him. One is, let's call him Mr. Plaistow. Being the town moderator and also my second term as state rep, no matter where I travel throughout this state, if they ask me, where are you from, I say Plaistow, and they say, oh, you must know Norm Major. And I'm proud to say yes, he's a friend of mine, and we serve together. So that's one term that I would give to Norm, Mr. Plaistow. Well-deserved, and it's great that I see his name on that sign. Every time I drive by here, I'll always remember our relationship and what he's done for this town and the state. But I was thinking of another word, and for you younger guys, I went to Indeed and did some research, and I said, no, I think this word better defines my friend, Norm Major. Mentor. What is a mentor? Indeed defines mentor as an individual who acts as an advisor or a coach for a less experienced mentee, providing expertise and professional knowledge from a more experienced perspective. It goes on, at the core of this relationship is availability to offer advice, provide support, and answer questions. Mentors protect the interests of their mentees. Mentees learn from this relationship, and mentors frequently benefit from acting as a trusted advisor. You've already heard state reps, state senators talk about his mentorship with them. And all that he does, Norm, and look at all the scouts here. As you heard, I'm a town moderator. I've been the town moderator approximately 10 years, probably going on 11 or 12. And I can remember every election, all the scouts and former scouts come up and say to Norm, hey Norm, thanks for all that you did for me, taking us on the trips, the jamborees, every place. It's truly a mentor for all of these scouts that's here today. When I first was going to run for town moderator, Norm, I, and Barry Sargent met at Norm's house. First time I was at Norm's house. And both of them explained to me the duties, obligations of being a town moderator, what it takes. And Norm said to me, you have my support, my mentorship, anything you need, let me know. And he does that to today. And he serves as my assistant moderator and helps me at every election, every meeting. You heard Greg mention of the meetings. He's always at my right-hand side, sometimes my left. But he's always there to help and offer advice and support, a true mentor. But the biggest thing about mentorship is that that person puts themselves above. What comes first is others. His selflessness of dedicating his entire life, every spare moment Norm has. I think he stays up at night working on Ways and Means projects. Probably he sleeps and thinks numbers. I see all the heads going, yeah, that's Norm, because we all know Norm. There's not a moment that Norm is not dedicating and giving himself to others. For that alone, he deserves to have his name on this sign. Norm, congratulations. I thank you for your many, many years of mentorship. I look forward to many more years of mentorship. Without you, I'd sometimes be lost among 400 people at a state house. And Norm first brought me up there and gave me a tour of the state house, the best tour I've had so far, and introduced me to everyone. Everyone knows Norm. Truly Mr. Plaistow, truly a great mentor, and thankfully my good friend. Thank you, Norm. Congratulations.
I'd like to now introduce Mark Pearson, the other Mark Pearson, our town manager, for his comments.
Thank you, Chairman Callan. You stole my line about the other Mark Pearson. So behave.
Okay.
So I welcome to the Norman Major family and guests and employees here today and the public. I met Norm, and he probably doesn't remember this. I was a first-time legislator in Concord in 2006, and they were giving us a tour. And so there's groups, and they're walking us around, and during the group there, and you're probably still doing it, they'll comment about revenues. And someone said, "Oh, Norm Major, he calls every department every day to find out what the revenues are." And I said to myself, a $10 billion budget, he's calling every day to say, what's the revenues today? That was, I remember that like it was yesterday. So that's when I first saw Norm, and then I saw him in action in Concord. And then when I came to Plaistow, I was working on a water project, and as time went on, I contacted Norm and Senator Morse. And when there were some glitches and so forth, Norm and Senator Morse called meetings, and we went to Concord, and they brought the appropriate people, and we had commissioners, and we had some very big people in the room, and we got through some of the water issues. So thank you, Norm, for help bring potable water to the town of Plaistow. So I'll reserve the balance of my comments for you, Norm, because you always have a good speech at the end. Thank you.
Before I bring up the next speaker, I just want to recognize the other selectmen of our town. John Glynn, here, Jay DeRoche, Bill Coy, and Darrell Britton. Okay, thank you. You know, we attempt to have as our agenda the benefit and the betterment of our town. And these gentlemen have worked with us. We don't always agree with each other, but we debate, we discuss, and we finally make decisions that help the town. And we hope to continue that. And I thank all of them for the support and for the involvement and for just basically digging in and researching facts, so that we can bring them to the table and move the town government along. So I thank them so much. I would now, am so happy to introduce John Glynn. He's our vice chair, and he's going to have a little comment about time.
First of all, I'd like to thank everybody for being here. In 1995, the Plaistow Town Hall celebrated its 100th birthday. When the Town Hall was constructed in 1895, the town leaders installed a time capsule in the cornerstone, which is a granite stone located to the right of the main entrance. In the original time capsule, the creation of a new 100-year time capsule. In the original time capsule, Plaistow Selectmen asked Norm to chair the committee for the removal of the original time capsule. Norm worked with Alden Palmer, who used his construction expertise to remove it quick, I'm sorry, Alden Palmer to use his construction expertise to remove the cornerstone. During the ceremony to remove and open the time capsule, it was quickly realized that unfortunately water had gotten into the time capsule and damaged most of the contents. Norm then worked with Dick Hawkins of Hawkins Manufacturing Company to design and build an airtight, hermetically sealed time capsule that would keep the contents safe for the next 100 years inside the cornerstone. This time capsule was very small and could not hold many documents. Therefore, an additional time capsule was buried in the ground in front of the cornerstone. Bobby Center of Center Construction donated a cement vault which was large enough to accommodate the larger time capsule. Dick Hawkins built and donated most of the stainless steel time capsules. During the ceremony to install the new time capsules, Norm sealed the units with melted wax for added protection. Norm oversaw the installation of 3 additional time capsules on the Plaistow Town Green. Norm at the bandstand, as well as one located at the new Plaistow Library on Main Street. Norm, we're not quite done with the time capsules. Your service now, we could give you an overdue with opening the bandstand time capsule. Then the selectmen would like you to continue the role as a time capsule committee and plan appropriate ceremonies to open those time capsules in the near future. And with all that's been said about you, you are Plaistow's time capsule. There's nothing you don't know. So I thank you very much. I'm like everybody else, I'm so happy to be able to be here with you and celebrate this building for you. And I can't thank you enough.
So I'm going to ask John if he would do the honors in pulling the covering of over the sign. I just want to let you know that we thank the Blinn family for donating the new sign, and especially we thank Jamie Delvo, who is John's daughter, who actually has a sign company, and she also donated her time to design it.
Are you ready for this, Norm? Oh my God.
Thank you, John. Thank you.
Very welcome.
Beautiful. It gives me shivers.
You
I'm going to ask Brian Major to come forward. He has a few comments from the family, and then we'll give Norm the microphone.
On behalf of the Major family, I thank the town of Plaistow, town manager Mark Pearson, chairman of the Board of Selectmen Greg Talon, and the rest of the board for this incredible honor for our father, who is the patriarch of our ever-growing Major family. The naming of the Town Hall Annex is a tremendous honor for my father. It serves as a permanent recognition of Norm's nearly 55 years of dedicated service to the Plaistow community. His service has been an act of love for this town. For nearly 55 years, Norm has invested his time and effort to make Plaistow a better place for all. Through those years, he has identified problems, created visions, and helped execute steps toward the achievement of those visions. 50 years ago,
Many of Plaistow's municipal functions operated out of the personal homes of the appointed or elected officials. Plaistow's town clerk, tax collector, building inspector, and animal control officer all worked out of their homes with no public space to hang their shingle. Norm and the other selectmen contracted the renovation of the top floor of the town hall, which enabled the district court to be moved upstairs and freed up critical space for many of these important services to be located into the town hall. 50 years ago, another important municipal function worked out of a personal residence, the police department, which operated out of the kitchen of the part-time chief of police. The selectmen gave up their office so that the police chief could operate out of the town hall. They then acquired the first police car and police radios. 50 years ago, Norm had a vision of municipal potable water and fire suppression services. Today, Plaistow has over 11 miles of water mains, 109 water hydrants, as well as water reservoirs and holding tanks located all across this great community. At that time, Plaistow purchased the land at the top of Sweet Hill Road for $5,800 to enable the construction of a future water tower. Last summer, 50 years later, Plaistow broke ground on the construction of that water tower. This year, residential homes for the first time will begin connecting to that Plaistow water system. Speaking of land purchases, 50 years ago, Plaistow purchased land right across the street that enabled a near doubling of the size of the Plaistow Cemetery, which has been a critical asset for this growing community. 50 years ago, Plaistow did not have a highway department. Under Norm's leadership, this important function was established, and the first highway truck was purchased. Norm asked the first road agent, Bud Center, father of the former Bobby Center, how many miles of roads are there in town? Well, Bud didn't know. So Norm and Bud took it upon themselves to drive, measure, and record every street and created the first accounting of road assets. 50 years ago, Norm dreamed of expanding the town library from an alcove within the town hall into more generous accommodations. As Greg mentioned, in 1976, the town purchased this building here for $35,000. And for 23 years, this building provided wisdom and imagination to Plaistow's youth and citizens until the library moved again to its permanent home on Main Street. When the library moved out, he worked with the town and state to locate the district court into this building where justice was handed out for 20 years. 50 years ago, the three members of the Board of Selectmen acted as the CEO for the town. Norm and the selectmen hired the first town administrator, Robert Phoenix, in 1975. This position has since grown into the town manager, Board of Selectmen form of government that Plaistow has today. 50 years ago, Norm was inspired by local scouting units and dreamed of offering high adventure programs that would help develop our youth into becoming solid adults ready to overcome any challenge and become contributing members of their future communities. Since then, Norm developed and led hundreds of youth on backpacking and canoeing excursions in the White Mountains, the Green Mountains, the Rocky Mountains, and along the Appalachian Trail. He took scouting a step further by running the pioneering program for the National Scout Jamboree for 24 years, where he taught our nation's youth how to use ropes and wood to build bridges, multi-level wooden structures, 15-foot catapults that would launch watermelons, as well as a working merry-go-round. And one final municipal function in which Norm played a major impact is the fire department. Since its inception, the Plaistow Fire Department has been extremely well run and very independent, driven predominantly by the incredible volunteerism of its department members over the years. Although they did have two major issues that needed resolution. The first issue that had to be resolved in the short term was access to water. Plaistow is blessed with many, many different water sources across this great community. The problem at the time was that there was no efficient or effective way to extract that water for public use. So Norm sat down with the fire engineers and they created a plan. They took that plan to town meeting, and town meeting appropriated the monies required to purchase and install dry hydrants at many of those water sources. The second issue that was ultimately resolved in the long term was space. The fire station on Main Street, which is now the home of Plaistow's Historical Society, was bursting at the seams. In fact, it was so small that some of the capital equipment that was purchased by taxpayers had to be stored outside, unprotected from the elements. And to make matters worse, outside of the ball fields behind Pollard School, which was really land that was set aside for school building expansion, the town of Plaistow didn't own a parcel of land in the downtown that was large enough to construct an appropriately sized fire station. So Norm began the acquisition of the Legacy Amusement Company property. Again, they put together a plan. They took that plan to town meeting, and town meeting appropriated $100,000 for the purchase of that property. To make the deal even sweeter, $90,000 of that appropriation came from a federal grant that the selectmen also obtained. So the taxpayers of Plaistow paid $10,000. That's really important. Let me repeat that. The taxpayers of Plaistow paid $10,000 for the parcel of land that is now home to Plaistow's state-of-the-art John D. Fitzgerald Public Safety Center. That was an awesome purchase. And for you history buffs, the Legacy building, which is where the main fire station is now, used to be the old trolley car recharging station. So it allowed trolley cars to travel up Elm Street, recharge at the station, and then continue on their journey up Sweet Hill Road. You might even say that after recharge, the trolleys felt safe to continue. Well, in conclusion, I can completely and accurately describe my father using 12 adjectives. Individually, each of these words represent the values and virtues of truth, character, strength, and wisdom. Collectively, these 12 words have been adopted by Scouting as their Scout law. Proudly, I say, Norm Major is trustworthy, loyal, helpful, friendly, courteous, kind, obedient, cheerful, thrifty, brave, clean, and reverent. And I'll bring it to a close with one last very, very short story. Many, many years ago, my father was attending the funeral of a beloved Plaistow town moderator, a gentleman who lived into his mid-90s, a person whom my father held in the highest of regard and often sought counsel. My father was really disappointed in the small number of people that came out to pay their final respects. My father confided in me at that time that his greatest fear was to grow old and be forgotten. Well, Dad, I can certainly say, first and foremost, your name is now painted on the front of this building for all to see. And second, your DNA is interwoven across so many of the municipal operations and volunteer activities across this great community. I can say with complete and total confidence that you, sir, will never be forgotten. I love you. We all love you. Yeah, I will. Because I have the mic, I'm going to pivot for a sec. I was going to introduce him and have him come up here. But I'm going to give that honor to my brother, my oldest brother. But as he comes forward, I was debating, how do I properly introduce him? I could introduce him as Army Lieutenant Colonel. I could introduce him as EMT Fire Lieutenant, Town Moderator, Memorial Day Coordinator. I could introduce him as son, husband, father, grandfather. I could introduce him as the Philmont Scout Reservation National Jamboree and World Jamboree Scoutmaster. I could introduce him as Eagle Scout. And for you Scouts from Troop 18, he's number 9 on your list of Eagle Scouts. But I'll simply introduce him in the way that's most endearing to me. Ladies and gentlemen, my brother, Kevin Major.
Thank you, Brian.
Okay, well, that's a tough act to follow. I grew up here in Plaistow in the, I'd say my younger years were in the late 60s and early 70s. So my sphere of the world back then was a quarter mile that way to my folks' house, to a quarter mile that way to Pollard School. And that's pretty much where I went. You walked or you rode your bike everywhere that you went. This building, I calculated just going to school, because we walked to Pollard School in those days. Just walking back and forth to Pollard School, I passed by this building at least 2,000 times. Now there's a lot of interesting stuff between here and Pollard School. This was not the most interesting thing. It was a plain white building. The front was not bricked up. Plain white brick building that said AZ Tool. Meant nothing to me. I don't even know what a tool company does, or didn't. But it wasn't interesting to me until 1977. I've been a scout since the 2nd grade. I love scouting. Still do it. In 1977, I was a Life Scout. That's the rank just before making Eagle. I had earned all my badges, and I needed an Eagle project. Back then, there weren't a lot of Eagles around, so it wasn't common. But I needed a project. Mom and Dad said, gee, the town has just purchased this building. It's going to be the new library. Funds have been allocated to rehab it, to make it look nice inside, but nothing for the outside. How about if you landscape this building? Great. From my classes at Tim Blaine in drafting, I knew how to make a landscape plan. I measured the building, made a nice poster, and I met with the Board of Selectmen. I met with Leroy Doobie, Tommy Cullen, and my dad, if I got that right. Did I get that right? Okay. And I presented them with my plan. They accepted it. They offered to help. Started fundraising, and I bought truckloads of loom and a bunch of shrubs. They were used at the time. And spent the summer of 1977 digging holes and planting yews with a good healthy dose of peat moss and cow manure like Dad showed me. And putting in a nice lawn. Looks like it could use a little work right now, guys. And putting in a nice lawn. The yews survived, I think 43 years, and Plaistow pulled them all out last year because they were overgrown. They needed to go. So there's a nice project waiting here for another scout, I think. Anyway, you know, Dad had a way of noticing the plane and finding a way to make it better. This unnoticed building became something very special to me. You've heard how Dad has influenced many great things in Plaistow. Always the engineer, he had the ability to take what already exists and to make it into something new and better. That's what an engineer does. In this case, he made the outside of the library look nicer, and he helped me become an Eagle Scout, something I hold near and dear. Ladies and gentlemen, Senator, representatives, I give you my dad, State Representative Norman L. Major.
Oh boy, what can I say? I'm really humbled. And I want to thank everybody that came out today. Senator Morse, Kimberly Rice, all the legislators, all the town officials, especially Greg, Greg, my family, the citizens of Plaistow, the employees of the town, for making this day very special to me. I put something together, but a lot of it has already been addressed. But I want to thank Villiers Carpentry for the creation of that beautiful sign out there. I was amazed with it. I want to thank the town workers who freshly painted the annex and hung this new sign. Thank the town employees who planned this event and coordinated the schedule of so many so they could be here today. And again, thank everybody that came out and celebrated this day. Through the years, I've had the blessing of meeting and working with so many incredible people on behalf of the citizens of Plaistow. Looking back, it is amazing to think about the accomplishments we achieved. We're able to achieve these things because we work together as a team and not as a group of individuals. We were not afraid to look forward 10, 20, or 30 years in developing our vision for this great community. And we knew that any great vision could only be accomplished by taking bold steps forward. One of these bold steps was the purchase of this building, the AZ Tool Company, so that we could provide a proper municipal facility to our ever-growing Plaistow Library. As said, 45 years ago, in 1976, we purchased this building for $35,000. And it's been a well-used asset for our community ever since. When the library moved out in 2000, I then worked with the town leaders as well as the legislative and judicial branches in order to be able to get the district court to move here. And the district court stayed here for 20 years until last year, where it moved primarily because the building wasn't handicap accessible. Since the early 1960s, Plaistow's population has nearly tripled. We had so many town functions operating out of people's homes, as was described earlier. Some functions, such as the highway department, recreation, and elder services, never even exist. By working together, we define the value of having good, solid municipal buildings to support important municipal operations. With that in mind, I'm so honored that Plaistow has decided to put my name on this great building. In closing, I would like to especially thank my wife, Brenda, for all her love and support through the years. Brenda has been the glue that supported our growing family when I was attending meetings and activities on behalf of the town and our state. She was the shoulder that I would lean on when times were tough. And she was the person I could hug when it was time to celebrate. She is the love of my life, the matriarch of our ever-growing family. Thank you, Brenda. Thank you, everyone, for being here today. Thank you.
Thank you all for coming.